And making sure that you know that we'll give you the slides at the very end, and whenever we send it out, you'll be able to click on the links and have all the information that we share today. All right, so let's get going as far as a couple of people that I'd like to invite to share any updates or anything that you'd like. Rostio, would you like to speak a little bit on what's going on with your organization, any updates or events that you have to share, or any positive things you'd like to highlight?
Hi, good morning, Mega. Thank you. Yeah, sure. We're in the midst of our USC Bridges to Business Success program, which is currently a 15-week business development training and coaching program. We have 33 small business owners in our cohort. We're about halfway through, so there's a lot of great community building and learning going on there. I'll also say I'm looking forward to, we're partnering up with Crowdfund Better and Kathleen, who's here on the call, and NLBW ALA and Latina Geeks to do an event around crowdfunding. So we're currently planning that. So I'm just teasing it, but more to come. We'll make sure to share that with everybody. And then in terms of USC, something that we're working on that will be ready to share with the world, if you will, is a Shop Local campaign, where we're looking to see how we can specifically support our small business communities. So I know that's just a teaser, but more to come in the coming month or two as we launch that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to call one more person. If someone wants to raise their hand, I'll do another person. But how about you, Kathleen, since we just talked about you?
Yeah, hey, I'm loving these EA meetings. I've been working with Rocio. I had a great I'm just going to celebrate this by saying I've had a great conversation with Sharon. I talked to Todd after the last meeting, and Larry and I have been talking quite a bit. So I'm just going to shout you out because it's because of these meetings that all of those relationships have grown. So thank you, Cameo.
Oh, thank you so much. All right, we have one more person. Let me call on Madison. Do you have any highlights or anything that you'd like? And then we'll get going.
Morning, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with you all by way of Emma Kloppenberg, program officer at LISC LA, where I work. As far as new developments, we're really pushing to build out our LA COVID Fund website with resources. And I think I emailed with a few of you about collaborative calendars. So we're excited to see where that takes us and hopefully get that going pretty soon.
Thank you so much for sharing. All right, with that, I'm going to call on Heidi Pickman to introduce Cameo and any updates that you should know about.
Hi, everyone. We'll just do the really quick version of what Cameo is. Cameo is the statewide EA, or EA is a program of Cameo. Now we're trying to build out the LA ecosystem. We are a statewide network of entrepreneurial training programs just like yourselves. We run from San Diego all the way up to Wairika. We do capacity building, we do advocacy, we do convening, such as this convening right here. And we also, our website also has lots of great information on small micro businesses. We have a research and report tab up at the top, and you can go and find all sorts of interesting reports there. Next slide, Mega. Just want to give you a quick update about what we're up to. Right now, this very week is day 4 of the Microlending Essentials class. We're experimenting with different ways of delivering it. It used to be a 2-day in-person. There was such demand for it to go online, so we did that. We've done a couple incarnations where it's been 1 day a week for 6 weeks. This time we're trying 5 days in the morning, 3 hours a day. So you have the rest of the day. So we're gonna make a decision on which format is working. But if you're interested, or you have staff members that might want to learn how to underwrite a microloan, or if you just want to understand how to better get your clients funding, if you're a TA provider, please contact Melissa Cruz. Her email is there, and I can. Mega popped it right into chat for me. And she'll put you on the waiting list. These classes are selling out. We sold out, we hardly advertised it really, and it sold out like that. So we want to make sure that people can get it, have all the attention that they need. So we're, limiting class size, and they are selling out, and we are getting people from all over the country now attending. So that's really exciting as well. We have something else that we're doing. Mega's going to pop a link into chat. The link is to matched applicants who had applied for the California Rebuilding Fund but did not get matched to any lender. They weren't qualified for some reason either. Sometimes they were looking for too much, so they just weren't qualified for the program. Maybe they weren't in business long enough, or whatever it was. They were unmatched with a lender. When they do that and they apply, they go to a form. They go to a page on the website of the California Rebuilding Fund that lists Cameo, among others, as a resource. But it's a very effective way of helping them. We thought we can do better as an industry. So what we're going to do is we're going to send an email out to all those who are unmatched, and have them opt in to being matched with a TA provider and getting some business help, or possibly another lender. If they were unmatched, they didn't even get to any of the lenders. So yeah. So that's what we're going to do. And that's what that interest form is. If you want to fill it out and participate in this program, please do. And then as well, we have lots of resources for you on our website for Cameo members and their clients to get some access to some resources to deal with COVID-19. So with that, I think I'm going to hand it over to one of our esteemed steering committee members. And if you are a steering committee member, if you could just do something in the reactions button, and there's quite a few of you on the call here, and just say, hey, we're, kind of let everybody know who's there. But I'm going to turn it over now to Monica Guevara. She's a loan officer at CDC Small Business Finance. She's on the steering committee, and she's going to lead you through some of the rest of the agenda, but I will be back.
Thank you, Heidi. Welcome, everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much for being here with us. So excited to welcome you here for our meetup for March. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. That's right. And so we're excited to, just kind of introduce you what you're going to be hearing about today. So doing introductions, just as you've done in the chat, we're going to do a little bit of networking because that's one of the main thrusts and initiatives this collaborative is really to bring people together, to get people to meet, to get people to, network with each other so that we can provide that much stronger a web and network of resources for our small businesses. So we'll be hearing from two different people today, and Abdiel Lopez of Ambitious and Frank Stokes. We'll be talking about the Shuttered Venue Operations Grant. So super excited. At least I'm super excited. I definitely want to know more about these programs, and that's one of the benefits that I derive when I come to an Entrepreneurship Advantage webinar. So I hope you do too. But with that, I want to present a little bit about who Entrepreneurship Advantage is. So really our mission, is to create economic opportunity for entrepreneurs and small businesses in LA County by connecting human, technical, and capital resources through regional collaboration. That's a lot of words. So basically we're LA County based. We are a collaborative of different industry professionals in economic development, whether it be from the lending side, whether it be on the technical assistance side, whether it be funders, small business, bankers, etc. Essentially, the thing we all have in common is we care about our small business community, and we care about them in a lot of different ways and use our special skills and resources to help that community. And now more than ever, they need that assistance and those resources. So the better informed we are as practitioners, as people within this economic development community, the better resources we can provide to our clients, to that small business community, and make sure that, one more small business makes it through this COVID mess So, now more than ever, it's more important to have information, resources, especially as programs come out. You heard just today, just one example of a different program coming out and being announced. So staying on top of that information is so key. So that's, one of the great benefits that I've derived from Entrepreneurship Advantage, and I hope you can too. So with that, I kind of want to put out a challenge to you guys. So that challenge consists of 3 parts. So one is, if you have not visited our website, Entrepreneurship Advantage, I encourage you to visit our website. And we'll put that in the chat in just a moment. But I would love for you to check it out. If this is your first time coming to a webinar, please check it out. We have postings about some of our previous topics and resources. Definitely go there. It's super informational. You can get a little more of an idea of what we're about. Been around for about 2 years now. So you can see some of the other webinars that we've done, some of the resources we've brought to bear. So definitely get to know us. Challenge number 2 is, if you are not a part of our LinkedIn group, we invite you to become part of our LinkedIn group. There we are also sharing resources, real time, live. On our website, you can also sign up to be part of our newsletter, find out about more of our great workshops and webinars coming up, the monthly or the quarterly events. We have some great networking events, virtually obviously now, but hopefully in person sometime in the future. And then my third challenge to you is to get to know someone new. So we're going to have a couple of breakout sessions. We have, some introductions via chat. Feel free to use the chat to ping someone that you do not know, that you would like to know more about. If you heard something today, even in the first few minutes, that was of interest to you, that you'd like to learn more about, get that person's email, connect later. I tell you that, even just in the last webinar that we are a part of, I was able to connect with the Valley Economic Alliance, with their new person. I was able to provide resources to clients that they have. I was able to refer clients to them. So that's just one example of many that I'm sure that we have here in this collaborative, and what we really want to foster and have more of as we go forward. So I encourage you to do those 3 challenges. Visit our website, make sure you're signed up for our newsletter so you find out about all of our events and keep joining in. 2, go to our LinkedIn group, make sure you're in our group and contribute, collaborate, learn. And then 3, get to know someone new. So with that, next slide.
I love your challenges, Monica. I love it. I love a good challenge. So now I am going to break you out into groups of 2 or 3. And those are the questions that we're going to talk about. I'm going to give you, we kind of deviated a little bit. So I'm going to give you 6 minutes on the timer. I think people should be pretty familiar with breakout groups. I'll monitor them to make sure that you are everybody at least has one group. So I might shuffle you around a little bit. So just pay attention to your screen. There will be a join breakout button. And with that, I am going to do port key you for my Harry Potter co-fans and open the rooms and send you to your room. If you'd like to go to a different room, just come back to the main room and I will send you to a different room if you'd know everybody, or I think everybody's got a room, so that's great. Oh, one person. I need to assign to room 2. There we go.
So again, a lot of these efforts are really trying to also promote community wealth building practices within communities that have been historically dispossessed, and thus are transforming the conditions that have set certain communities apart from, or more so have prevented them from building that wealth. So that's essentially in a nutshell what Ambitious is. Some of the inherited models that some of the economic models that we inherited, for example, that I'm thinking about are the 5 C's of credit. I'm sure we're all familiar with the 5 C's of credit. And so one effort in particular that I'm thinking about is looking at character-based lending. And I don't know if you've heard of this opportunity, but basically it's built on relationships, it's built in community, and what they're trying to do is making sure that they tailor loan products to the people who are closest to the conditions that they're trying to transform, right? So through that, we're also exploring this idea of the integrated capital approach, which is a term that we borrow from the RSF social finance. Integrated capital basically is this idea that promotes the sustainability and self-determination of a community through different sort of capital, whether that's grants, loans, technical assistance, and network opportunities. A prime example of this integrated capital approach was last year when we launched the open application grant and loan fund program for early stage arts, creative, and cultural cooperatives. And we partnered with Seed Commons, which is a cooperative friendly sort of national lending network. We also partnered with Optima Entrepreneur Cooperative that provides technical assistance for specifically cooperatives. And we also provide a general operating support grant. And let me backtrack a little bit by saying that the crux of our capital support does come as unrestricted capital, as general operating support grants, which is, again, a little bit atypical within foundations because, like I said before, foundations provide a project-based support grant. So moving forward with this 2020 Open Application Grant and Loan Fund program, we were able to provide 6 grants. We're also working with Seed Commons to provide 1 loan product, and we actually provided the loan guarantee to de-risk the lender in providing a loan product for this early stage cooperative, and provided 5 cooperatives with technical assistance. So that's essentially the crux of that program, but we're also looking into providing investment notes, again, providing recoverable grants that act as first loss capital in lieu of a PRI because we're not an endowed foundation. So we're trying to mimic certain terms that foundations can actually use through their endowments and their the PRIs to educate them, right? And so it really is, at the end of the day, rooted in this idea of trust-based philanthropic practice. And that it's interesting because in philanthropy, there's so many discrete ways in which we still sort of gatekeep, still sort of extract from the communities that we're trying to serve. And so what we're trying to implement with this trust-based philanthropic practice is that we understand that the people who are closest to the conditions that they are trying to transform are the ones who actually can lead us into a transformative model, right? So even from the proposal stage, we oftentimes engage with these efforts through site visits. We hear about their narrative. We ask them to submit proposals that they've submitted to other funders, and we repackage it and retailor it for our purposes. So in just those discrete ways, instead of asking them for a plethora of information through a one-size-fits-all sort of application, we really try to tailor it to different communities' capacity as well. That's a huge word for us because we recognize that not everybody has the capital to even have a sole grant writer on their team, right? So we try to we try to model good behavior in order for foundations to then replicate those models within their portfolios. For the reporting requirements, we try to be as minimally extractive as we can. So we require general reporting, like what did you learn? Because we understand every effort and every investment is actually already a success. Whether or not they succeed, I think conventionally succeed or not, is already helpful for us in understanding how we can actually create the conditions so that a similar effort can actually succeed in the future if they don't succeed, right? So we also think of our investments as a reward. So we never try to conventionally go through these conventional metrics of measurements, right, of risk and reward, because we do believe that every investment is a reward. So through the reporting requirements, we really want to highlight what did they learn through our investments, through our capital support, and we stick to just bare minimum financial reporting requirements. So that in and of itself is already sort of transformative because, again, typical philanthropic behavior require a lot of paperwork. And also, one final point on that, every year, the ambitious portfolio looks very different. We don't know what 2022 is going to look like because we oftentimes tap the shoulders of the people who are already a grantee of ours to let us know, the funder, who is a key player in building the infrastructure for alternative economies. They tell us this is a key architect in building what I'm trying to build in my backyard. So it's interesting because a lot of our pooled funders are regional specific, but our sort of case making is that if there are certain conditions that have helped a cooperative like EBPrec be successful in Oakland, what were those conditions that primed them for success that we can then replicate in other different backyards and other cities with similar or perhaps very different historical conditions. So we, again, the portfolio is really rooted in the people who are already receiving the grant. And they're also informing the shape of the portfolio and the landscape, really. And then I think the next slide are just future opportunities, if I'm not mistaken, of what we can currently do and look for. How can we look for these opportunities in our backyard, whether that's exploring through shared ownership models. Like I have two examples here. Sustainable Economies Law Center is a self-directed nonprofit organization. If you want to confer ownership, and that's really at the heart of this project, is how are we conferring ownership into the hands of actual community members, right? So Runway, for example, in the Bay Area as well, they work with the CDFI to provide investors with the CD that then supports early stage entrepreneurs with flexible loan products. And we also like to think of or more so experiment with providing patient capital. So I can really go ahead and unpack all the terms that I mentioned, but I do want to give you the space to ask me questions and perhaps lead the conversation in a way that's more fruitful and more productive for you. But that is an overview, a high level overview of what Ambitious is. We're time limited because we also don't want to exist in perpetuity, because we see ourselves as representing the transition from, like I said before, the inherited model of philanthropy into something that is more regenerative and sustainable for the community members on the ground doing the work. At some point, we'd like them to be profitable and not rely on charitable foundations to provide them with grants, right? So that's really, again, kind of going back into the larger scope of our work, is to make sure that we enable the financial self-determination of individual artists, community members, cultural communities. And we see that creativity, arts and culture is really at the heart also of the economy. I mean, if we think about what happened with AB5 in 2020, and we saw how artists rang the alarm on the effects of AB5 and they lobbied, and we're looking at what are the alternatives to make sure that we can actually expand the social safety net for arts workers who are, what I would say, the original gig workers, right? So looking at arts and culture as a sort of driving force of the economy, because by solving for the conditions that you're solving for arts workers, you're also solving for conditions that a larger swath of the population is facing. I'm thinking of undocumented workers as well, right? As an example. So there are many conditions that artists face that are actually, that mirror other sort of segments of the population. So this is why arts and culture is our lens, but also why we're looking at the economic model piece as a key component of this initiative. So I want to pause there. I want to give you some time to breathe, to take in all the information and ask any questions. I'm happy to respond to any questions.
Awesome. Yeah, and I appreciate that you have your email there as well. I just had one quick question. And I'm one of those people that is very visual.
Yes.
And in this case, auditory. But could you provide an example of a client that you've been able to assist? Describe the type of client and what assistance they received from you and what that kind of looked at in terms of outcomes.
That's an interesting question, because for Ambitious, our primary audience is really funders, because we're trying to, again, transform the conditions, right? However, I think the best example of that would be the Open Application Grant and Loan Fund program, because we were able to, I'm thinking of one cooperative ARC Chicago. They are working with Seed Commons to receive a flexible loan product, and we provided us, some amount to to de-risk that loan product that Seed Commons will issue ARC Chicago. But we also enabled them to work closely with, like I said, Optima Entrepreneur Cooperative, and so they're meeting weekly to not only understand what it takes to actually structure themselves as an actual cooperative, but when they receive their loan product, how can they be primed for success to pay it back and not default? So those are, I guess, the discrete ways, but we're really trying to also be hands-off, and that's rooted in the trust-based philanthropic practice, because we understand that we can give you the suite of opportunities, resources, etc., but we don't want to mandate you how to use specific tools that we are not necessarily aware of because we're not in your community. So we'll give you the networking opportunities, we'll give you the resources, and this is why another huge piece of that is having the people who are the investees in the portfolio help us shape the direction of the portfolio, because they're the ones who understand who else is needed to build this and to seed the infrastructure, right? So I know it's kind of maybe not the answer that we're looking for, because we are experimental in that way, and we're really looking at that systems level work rather than the individual work. I don't know if that's helpful.
Yes, no, that
Okay.
is helpful. Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to take down your contact information.
Yes, I know it's a lot to take.
No, but I appreciate it. And I'm so glad this is a part of the slides as well, that they're going to be shared out with everyone, because I think it does take a little bit of time to soak in
Right.
yeah, and come to think about how this information can be applied, and where it may be really helpful. So no, thank you for this. Thank you for sharing your information and your expertise. This was fantastic. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
And with that, I want to make sure we also leave a little bit of time for Frank Stokes. So Frank Stokes is going to be talking to us about the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. So Frank is, works at the Best Mobile Accelerator, Bethel LACDC, and also is a member of our steering committee. So he is a valuable and trusted member of our EA steering committee, has been a part of it from basically the very beginning, and a great contributor. So take it away, Frank.
Thank you, Monica, very much. This morning I was asked to speak about this SBA Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. It's been in the works for a few months, but they're finally getting close. And we got an announcement just this week. The applications open on April 8th. And this is just a brief program overview. This program, it was established for those who were really hit hard during the pandemic. These are small businesses, nonprofits, and venues, that anyone who's been involved in various aspects of the arts and entertainment, of course, they haven't been able to work at all. So this is a $16 billion program, and these are grants. And the thing about it is the grants could be equal up to 45% of their gross earned revenue for the previous year. So that would be in 2019. And the maximum amount available for any single grant is up to 10 million. So this is a great opportunity, and it's providing some sort of sustainability for an industry that, it was virtually flat because all live events were canceled. Next slide, please. These are the eligible entities: live venue operators or promoters, theatrical producers, live performing arts organization operators, relevant museum operators, zoos and aquariums who meet specific criteria, motion picture theater operators, talent representatives, and each business entity owned by an eligible entity that also meets those same eligibility requirements. So it's pretty broad-based in terms of the eligibility. Next slide, please. As I stated earlier, the amount of the grants for this program, the the entity has to have been in operation on January 1 of 2019. The grants may be up to or equal to an amount of 45% of those 2019 gross earned revenue, or up to 10 million, whichever is less. And for an eligible entity that began after January 1st, the grants of 2019, those grants will be for the average monthly gross earned revenue for each full month that they were in operation during that same year, multiplied by 6 or 10 million, whichever is less. All right, next slide. How to apply. Now, when we were originally talking about this, they said they were in the process of setting this up, but in what I have shared are some links that you should be able to find in the chat. And these are the links to the portal page and other links, so you can download the checklist for applicants and all of those. And the way they've structured it is that those who have suffered the greatest economic loss will be the first applications process under the following schedule. So they're trying to help those who are in the greatest need first, and then work down like that. So they have here that during the first 59 days of the opening, the SBA will reserve no less than $2 billion of the program funding for grants to entities that have no more than 50 employees. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so these are the priorities. First 14 days of grant awards, those entities that have suffered 90% or greater revenue loss between April 2020 through December 2020 due to the pandemic. The second priority, that will be the next 14 days of awards, those entities that have suffered 70% or greater revenue loss between April 2020 through December of that same year during the pandemic. And then the third priority, that's beginning 28 days after the first and second priorities, those awards have been made, those entities that have suffered a 25% or greater earned revenue loss between one quarter in 2019 and the corresponding quarter in 2020. And then the supplemental funding, that's available after all the priority periods have passed. Then the supplemental funding, so recipients of first, second, and third round awards who suffered a 70% or greater during that calendar year. So they've taken it into tiers, hoping that they're going to help those with the greatest loss. And I can just tell you personally, I know of several candidates for this particular program, and they had live dates because they were performing or recording artists. They had live dates the previous year, maybe 40 or 50 dates the second, and then 2020 they had 0. So it was devastating for many people in this industry. Next slide. Okay, the allowable use of funds. So specific expenses may include payroll costs, rent payments, utility payments, scheduled mortgage payments, not including prepayment of principal, scheduled debt payments, again, not including prepayment of principal, on any indebtedness incurred in the ordinary course of business prior to February 15th, 2020. Worker protection expenditures, payments to independent contractors, not to exceed over $100,000 for any particular contractor. Other ordinary necessary business expenses, including maintenance costs, administrative costs, that does include fees and licensing, state and local taxes, fees, and fees, operating leases in effect as of the 15th of February of last year, insurance payments, advertising, production, transportation, and capital expenditures related to producing a theatrical or live performing arts production, but may not be the primary use of the funds. So there's, again, a lot of liberty there, and those generally are ordinary and necessary expenses for anyone in that industry. Next slide. All right, so that just gives you a brief overview, but there are a couple of important points I wanted to share. Is that, again, applications open on the 8th, but you must have a Dun & Bradstreet number. So that's required because you must also have a System of Award Management or a SAM account to apply. So because of the nature of this is a grant, it must be applied through the government System of Award Management System, known as SAM. And so you'll have to have those two things in order to apply. And the links are in the chat. And there's also a special workshop, and this is a SBA workshop. It's a webinar about the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant Program that's scheduled Tuesday, the 30th of March. That link should also be found in the chat. And I'd recommend, if you have clientele that are candidates for this, that you would direct them there. And that's all I have. You've got all the links there, and this is a great program, and I'm excited about it because it's going to help many businesses who've been devastated. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Frank. I think we've learned a lot in terms of the arts and culture, but also how to support one another, to be able to share out this information, be able to support our clients in the respective communities that we serve. So with this, I want to start slowly concluding. I want to invite you all to our April virtual meetup. In the chat, you'll find the link to register. You are the first to know that we do have two special guests. First is Laura Geller from SCORE LA, talking about the wonderful initiatives that they have in terms of workshops, resources for your clients to really take so you can be able to be the messenger for them. And also Chris Horton from the Inclusivity Project. So we will have those two guests next month, and you're the first to know. So be sure to register ASAP, and you'll get that information and details to follow. Now with that, I'd like to call on Heidi. I know she's got a couple of things in terms of polls to really share with you.
Hi, everyone. And thank you, Frank and Adiel, for, oh my gosh, there's so much good information. It's really great to see people, kind of seeing a need and trying to do something different as well. So thanks, Adiel, on that great effort. And Frank, I know the Shuttered Venue program is going to be very well received by many, many, many organizations. I know my favorite movie theater, I'm just hoping they make it through.
Oh, yes.
So great. I'm going to launch just a couple poll questions if you can hang in there, and trying to, help us improve the entrepreneurship meetups. And so I'm just give everybody 30 seconds to click on your answers and what you guys like about this, and countdown. It's like it looks like most everybody's applied. I don't think I can do it, so I'm going to share. It looked like people liked learning something new the most. So I think this was an either or, so that's good. We'll continue to bring you new information and new programs and new places to plug in. And now we have another question. Oh, let me see. Stop share results. And now another question is, what kind of topics are you guys interested in? I think you could pick as many as you like. Increasing network opportunities, advocacy and policy. It is policy season right now, everybody, but it looks like, well, the one person who chimed in first wasn't that interested, which is fine. I know some of you aren't policy nerds like I am. Digital small business, capacity building, access to accelerated investor networks. And by capacity building would mean for your organizations, bringing you guys resources, increase networking opportunities. So it's interesting, you guys like the networking, but you want to continue. That's really a huge part of what you're doing, and access to partnerships to capital. So everybody's looking for money and connection. I love it. Very, very, and as well as accelerators and investors. All right, well, I think and then there's some other people. I'm going to end polling. I was sharing the results without really sharing them. So those are the big ones, just increasing networking opportunities and access to partnerships and capital, and access to accelerators and investor networks. So we'll try and, I think investor networks are usually not part of our ecosystem. We usually, talk to the lenders. So we'll see what we could do about bringing you some more of those. I'm gonna stop sharing. Mega, you wanna?
Yeah. Thank you so much for participating, you guys, for doing the networking, for building community. I did share one more thing. If you're interested in either speaking or you have a recommendation of a speaker, please use this form that I've shared in the chat, where you can either nominate yourself or someone else. And of course, join us on LinkedIn. Join us as far as our entrepreneurship. We have our next meeting in April, last Thursday of the month at 11 a.m. So you can block off your calendar. But with that, I want to say thank you so much and have a wonderful week.
Thank you.